Hello, beautiful Globetrotters. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our webinar for the Snowy River Ride. It's so exciting. We've got Jade here, who is our amazing guide and host, who's going to the good thing about these webinars is you can ask any questions in the lead up to your departure and you can get it straight from Jade because obviously he's in the know. Jade and Globetrotting, we've been working together. Is this our third season, Jade?
Must be, I think. Yeah.
So that's exciting. So, and have you brought all the horses in? Are they all fit and ready to go?
Yeah. Well, they've had one ride,
Yeah,
just a global ride just not long ago, and had a bit of a break and just back in work now.
that's so cool. And let me just start because everyone always loves to hear a backstory. How did you start your rides, Jade? And how did you fall into being a guide? And just your background. I'm sure all the guests would love to know. Who's leading them through this amazing, pristine wilderness.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Kate. I'm originally from southeast Queensland, and the school I was going to started an outdoor ed centre, and my parents started guiding there, and they actually had trail riding horses there. So that was my first exposure to guiding and outdoor activities. And then I was going to be a vet, but then decided to be an outdoor guide. So I went to uni in Bendigo, and then
Wow.
ended up doing a teaching degree as well. So my first guiding was more guiding people rock climbing, whitewater kayaking, whitewater rafting, um, remote area bushwalking, cross country skiing, camped up in the snow, that sort of stuff.
Wow.
And then I later on became a professional horsebreaker, and then somehow got into combining my guiding and my horses together.
How long have you been part down in the Snowy for? Like since I know you were brought up in Queensland, but how long have you been down in this part of the world?
Well, I started coming to the Snowy River when I was 18,
Yeah.
running rafting trips here, and have been coming back ever since.
Wow.
Um, and then we sort of started Wheel and Adventures in its current form in 2016, and then we've been across. Uh, we've been running trips here for a long time, but living in the area since COVID.
That's amazing. I mean, it is. I was very lucky to road test Jade's ride, and it's. I've never been part of that world, and it's absolutely stunning. Can you, Jade, just explain? Obviously, it's a big thing for guests to ride new horses, but I'd love for you to give us some insight on the kind of horses the guests ride, and then obviously it's a knack and a little bit of magic. But how do you match horse to rider when at the start of the trip?
Yep. So the horses that we have are predominantly quarter horses or quarter horse cross, with a bit of Australian stock horse, and we do rely heavily on the Globetrotter information. That sort of captures a lot of details that are handy on people's background experience with horses, other rides they may have done, and desires they have, and some of the personalities that they might like.
Yeah.
So we have a bit of an idea beforehand, but when we meet the guests on the first day and have a bit more of a discussion with them, sometimes that might refine a few things. And then the next morning we have a bit of a test ride, and usually we've got it pretty right. The information's been pretty good. It's Jane just coming in from
Hi,
dropping Luke off.
Jane. And then obviously day one, I love what you guys do. You do a lot of groundwork, don't you? Just again, it allows all those nerves to melt away and you get to work with your horse on the ground before mounting up.
Yep, and I think that's a lot of my background as a horse breaker and trainer as well. Never like to hop on a horse that I sort of don't have a bit of an idea what it's thinking beforehand, and really groundwork's the only way to do that. The other thing is on our rides, sometimes the country is very steep and rough, and people have to get off and leave their horses. Sometimes that will be on narrow tracks,
Yeah.
rocky or thick terrain. So they have to be comfortable to move their horse around on the ground as well, and getting their horse to step over logs and different things like that. So it's not just for fun. It's essential they know how to operate their horse on the ground.
Oh yeah, I think it's the best way to connect with your horse on the ground. And actually, that leads me into my next question, Jade. for the guests, is it a hands-on ride? I guess expected to help either with grooming, saddling, feeding, washing up, any of those things, just for their expectations?
Yep. They don't have to if they don't want to. They're not expected to, but they can help if they wish to. And our staff are always appreciative of any help. And we find sometimes people like to come and do those things as well, or they might want to just sit and have a wine. It's up to them.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, yeah, it's definitely, we take it for granted because we have horses in our daily life all the time doing, all of the grooming and things like that, when it's a complete novelty for those that, don't have horses in their life. So I love that it's optional for everyone, which is excellent. The food, which is just, you and Jane are amazing. I've had some of the best coffee when I was on your ride, and the lunches. But can you explain to to everyone what the food, how it looks like, how lunches work and dinners, and what they will expect on the ride?
Well, yeah, the food's always good. Um, on the big day, we have a pack horse, Basalt, and he carries some emergency gear with us, but he also carries the food, so we can have a bit of a heavier lunch on that day. Other days, we'll pack lunches at camp and put them in saddlebags, and just have them wherever we end up.
That's so good. Yeah, it's excellent. Is it Basil, the one that he was with us when we road tested? Is it the same pack horse?
Basalt, yep, yeah,
Basil.
same one, yep, yeah. He's done quite a bit of pack horsing now.
Yeah,
So,
he was still he still didn't understand that he had packs and he was getting stuck between trees. Jane was very
well,
patient.
where we take him, it is a bit tricky, and
Yeah,
I'm often up the and I ride through it, because the track does change.
yeah,
We get the odd big gum tree down, and we have to divert around it. And
yeah.
sometimes I'll ride through a section, and think, gee, I'm glad I'm not leading the pack horse. Um, so they always get him through somehow, but sometimes it's amazing where they take.
Oh, I agree. He's very patient, and your horses are absolutely testament to you both because they're phenomenal horses. You guys will really I feel like you can do anything when you trust your horse and when your horse is brave and forward, and your horses are 100% that. I think your ride within our portfolio is the most adventurous, which just lights me up. And I love that the people listening and the people that have booked on this ride are obviously searching for that, and still with such level-headed guides like you and Jane being able to sort of steward you through this country is such a gift. Speaking of, for those that are preparing, like, what sort of tips, fitness, mindset, packing must-haves, because you've been doing this forever, like that, if we could reach into your brain and your must-haves. I know it's in all our kit that we provide to people, but it's also nice to hear it straight from you, Jade, as to what you need to pack, like, in a nutshell, the essentials.
Yeah, well, we are in alpine areas that are quite changeable. Like last trip, we had snow swirling around,
Wow.
and this trip is coming up. It could be hot, but we could have rain, we could have snow, especially when we get to altitude. And the Cobra's Day, if we do that as planned, it's over 1,800 metres. So that's
Wow.
for Australia, that's pretty high.
That's
So
nice.
I would always say a good raincoat is essential, and that's a windproof barrier as well.
Yeah.
So always having that. We have like an elastic cord set up on the front of the saddles, so people can always carry those. Yeah, so raincoat's number one, but then thermal underwear as well. So
Mm.
long sleeve top and long pants. And I would recommend two sets of those. And that's no different to when we take people whitewater rafting or we're bushwalking for multiple days, wherever we are. Um, Thermals, if they're made out of merino or polypropylene or similar, they will insulate even if they're wet.
Yeah.
So if you have the best raincoat, nice breathable Gore-Tex one or whatever, you can get damp inside it. So you always need good gear that will
Mm.
insulate wet. And from guiding in the mountains for years, I mean, the saying is cotton kills. I'm wearing a nice Globetrotter cotton shirt now, and if it's warm weather, this is great. That's what I grew up wearing and riding in
Yeah.
Queensland. Great for hot weather. But if it turns cold, a wet cotton shirt is not going to dry out. So you're best to have some sort of synthetic that can quick dry. Thermals are just the easiest thing to have.
Yeah.
Even as a base layer, if you didn't have the best other layers, just having that as the base layer against your skin is very important. Having two pairs also means that at the end of the day, if it was snowing or wet and cold or whatever, you can crawl into a dry set of thermals and use them in your sleeping bag.
That's so true. Yeah. And that would be absolutely an essential. I mean, and we always say, Pat, dress like an onion, like always layers upon layers. Is that right, Jade?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So thermals and then raincoat, that would be my main ones. But in addition to that, like a nice fleece top, as in synthetic fleece, like a polar fleece, that's really good, and they will insulate when wet as well. We use that sort of stuff swimming in rivers on the snowy, and it'll keep it warm even when it's wet there.
Wow.
Jane's bringing in a heap of food in the background.
Yeah, I know. Never stops.
Yeah.
Hi, Jane. How are you? Everyone, this is the beautiful Jane that also will be on the trip with you, that feeds you and leads the pack horse and everything. We're just going through all the essentials, Jane, so everyone's, prepared and ready.
Oh, very good. I'm actually packing to go caving and abseiling today. So.
Wow. How many people are you taking?
24.
Whoa. Okay,
Yeah.
never a dull moment. So everyone is, literally well looked after. That's so cool. And what do you guys provide in terms of like water bottles or anything? I can't remember off the top of my head. Are there any things that people don't need to pack?
Always encourage people to bring their own water bottle.
Yeah.
Because they might need it just when they're traveling. But we do provide sort of littler water bottles that we put on in their cantle bags on the saddle. And we deliberately have them at a certain size where they're not too big and heavy for the horses, because sometimes people have a 2-litre bottle and they want to pack it all. It can be a bit heavy. So we carry water purification, which we're used to using, obtaining water wherever. Same stuff you use if you're overseas in India or whatever. So we can gather water along the way and reduce the weight we have to carry on the horses.
That's a good idea, especially 2 litres. See you, Jane.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, my love. And what does a typical day look like, Jade? Like, what time do you get up to when you start riding approximately, just so people can get an idea?
Yep. Typical. I guess it depends on the weather.
Yeah.
But it might be like a breakfast at 7 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be 6 o'clock, could be 8 o'clock. It depends what the logistics are, whether we're trying to beat a weather window or something like that. But people would generally get out of bed and be able to have breakfast. And some people are up and ready to go early. Others take, 5 coffees and sitting around the campfire for a while. So whatever the case is, we'll have staff getting horses going, and they're up and feeding horses and getting them ready in the background.
Yeah.
And generally, just after breakfast, I might give an announcement if plans have changed, or we're just reinforcing what we're going to be doing for the day, and then pack a lunch in some way, and then get going. So, and that could be riding from the campsite.
Yes.
But it could be loading horses up in a truck somewhere. It just depends on the day.
Yeah.
So our rides are not. We don't just ride from a base and ride out one way and come back, and ride out another way and come back. That would be a lot easier. But our background's always been in expeditions and journeys, sometimes in very remote locations, and sometimes some of the places we take people, you have to work pretty hard to get there, and that involves changing campsites. So it may be that we're trucking to a certain location, riding from there, camping there the next day. We might be riding out somewhere, but we'll probably be moving camps.
Which is wonderful for everyone that's listening, because you get to handpick all the beautiful parts of this area, which is absolutely excellent, and you're not retracing your footsteps. And as Jade says journeys, which, safari or moving from a point to point is just so satisfying to have a purpose with your riding. So I think that's, again, a gift and one of the only ones in Australia that we offer, which is very cool. What's one thing that always surprises guests, Jade, when they, go on one of your rides?
Yeah. Probably the diversity of the country that we go through. So, excuse me, where they meet us is just been passed a note. Get to that. Where they meet us is 800 meters, and then we will truck to Native Dog Flat, which is even higher. And so then we'll ride up the Cobras. We're in the snow gums, but then a few days later, we're down in pretty arid country at Suganbugan, in a rain shadow where we've got the pines that the man from Snow River poem talks about, pine-clad ridges. It's drier, almost Mediterranean type country, and that's quite different. And we had guests the other day with snow swirling around, and I said, "Oh, we'll be on the snowy swimming in a few days' time," and they didn't believe me at all. It just seemed like it was going to be misty and cold forever. And sure enough, a couple of days later, they're swimming in the snowy.
So beautiful.
Some of the other things that might surprise them is riding through the bush. So some people have been out of an arena and ridden on some dirt tracks, but then some of the tracks we go on are just Brumbie tracks. But then sometimes, I might have to get off them to go a certain way, and suddenly we're not on Brumbie track, we're just purely in the bush. And that could be a surprise for some people. I mean, we're used to doing that mustering, looking for cattle, but it can be a bit different for people.
That's a gift. I mean, I've never, I remember coming down and road testing your ride and creeping through all the snow gums like that. For a Queenslander, that is like, you see it in the movies, but to be able to do it, the snow gums are just, haunting and eerie and beautiful. And seeing Brumbie tracks. Did you see any Brumbies on the last trip?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I think it's been a trip we haven't seen Brumbies.
That's awesome.
And often there's a lot of Brumbies where we camp at Native Dog Flat.
That's
so
awesome.
Sometimes, well, I had to get up and chase them away from horses last time. They come and try and say hello across the electric fence. But then other times we'll be just riding along, and there might be a lone male just comes up, running up, thinks it's a mob of horses, and sees us riding and snorts and takes off. Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, Eliza's traveling with her daughter. Can they share a tent, Jade?
Yep.
Yeah, fantastic. And are there any like transfer when people are coming in, like the transfers to and from? Are there any, GPS hacks or anything that people should be aware of when they go to what's the first place called again? It's
so they go to Karoonda Park, KAR, and most people we find hire cars, and they'll just come to Karoonda Park, park them at the lodge, and then the cars can stay there. We've never had a problem with them there, just staying at the lodge. If they weren't bringing a hire car and they've caught a train to Bairnsdale, we can pick people up. And we just ask $100 for that pickup. But often at the end of the ride, we'll find people have got to know each other and they'll carpool back to Bairnsdale.
That's awesome.
I mean, we can give them a lift back to the train station, but often they'll say, "Oh no, I'll just catch a lift with someone who's got a hire car that's going that way." Yep. All I'd say is when people get to Karoonda Park, if they can, they go in and they turn left and just keep going. If they find the tennis courts, go past the tennis courts.
Yes.
The tennis courts should be on their right-hand side. And if they drive around there, they'll get to the lodge. That can save us giving a few directions at times.
Awesome. And is there any sort of, I'm coming via train to Bairnsdale, so I would love a lift. Do you prefer cash or card?
Oh, whatever. That's all right.
Fitness. What about fitness for people if they're like physical fitness, mental fitness? I think it's probably goes hand in hand. How physically challenging is the ride?
We can cater a little bit to the group and the people we have in front of us, but at basic level, I've been able to walk in steep terrain.
Yeah.
is good, or not necessarily steep terrain, but just through the bush and lifting your legs over logs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And being able to stay out of the way of your horse if you've got to lead it over a log. So yeah, you do need a basic level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And alcohol, can people bring it and you look after it, Jade? Like in terms of when you go part of the camping?
So the first night in the lodge, and the last night in the lodge, that's a licensed venue. So
Oh,
we
cool.
guests can have alcohol there. And then it's a BYO
Yeah.
during the trip. And there is some alcohol at the lodge that people could take with them,
Oh,
but
good.
they have their own preferences. And then that will just get stored in eskies or barrels, or plastic boxes, whatever, to protect it. So
Perfect.
they don't need to be putting stuff in their own
Bad.
luggage and
Yeah.
risking breaking
And it
or
breaking.
leaking.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. And everyone's in a swing, like you're in swinging fenders, aren't you? Your saddles?
Yeah, they're pretty much, yeah, they're all swinging fenders. I mean, we might have a more traditional stock saddle
Yeah.
occasionally. But generally, it'll be swinging fender saddles.
Do you need to bring sleeping bags?
No, we provide sleeping bags, and we also have a little blanket as an addition there. But if people have if they're experienced campers and they've got their own 800-gram down bag, for example, feel free to bring it. That's awesome.
Yeah, cool.
They don't need
Awesome.
to.
They don't need to. Yeah, fantastic. So that's optional, Eliza. And Wendy said, I'm around horses all the time as I am chief groom for my show jumping daughter. I was a competitive rider myself, but have not ridden now for 20 years. Am now riding once a week until we go. I'm hoping I'll be okay. I hope you'll be okay, Wendy. I'm sure you will be. Like, as much riding and as much physical, even if you don't have access to a horse, just being, physically fit is obviously going to set you up for success. So, that's just part of preparing for a riding holiday. Would you agree, Jade?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Kate, you said about mental fitness before. I
Yeah.
think that ties into, I guess, maybe resilience and a sense of adventure. We do, it's the real deal. Like, we do go
Yeah.
out in the bush, we're exposed to the elements, and we do have an itinerary. Obviously, it's on your website, and it's something that
Yeah.
we work towards. But we need to be dynamic and flexible
Yeah.
with that. So I would say if people were just a bit mentally prepared for plans to change, if there's snow coming in or rain
Yeah.
forecast, or there's going to be a four-wheel drive track that's too wet for us to get gear out for a certain campsite. Things can change. So I suppose part of adventure for me is a bit of an uncertain outcome. If we knew we were just going to do a certain ride and be back at 3 p.m., 100%, it wouldn't be a total adventure for us. But we're used to operating in environments that change all the time. So if people could be prepared for that eventuality,
Such a good point, and definitely, what can happen in the mountains and on your ride, and that's for me some of my most favorite riding experiences is when things haven't gone to plan. So yeah, I agree. An open mind and an open heart, and knowing that Jade and Jane will look after you through those situations. They're so experienced in the mountains. But I agree. I think you should everyone know itinerary police. So it's once you arrive, you just open to Jade and Jane and the climate and the trails and what's happening, in front of you at the time. How many in your group? Letitia's just asking, Jade, how many per ride do you guys take? I mean, we're sold out for this season, so
we cap it at 8,
yeah,
and we always
perfect. Yeah,
we
I
always
love that.
cap at 8, and we like that, especially with logistics, trucking, and everything like that. And then out on tight trails, it's just it just seems to be good.
Great.
Everyone can get to know each other really well.
Yeah.
That just works well for us.
Yeah, that's super special. And do you provide two questions? Do you have are there helmets available? And with the sleeping situation, is it cots off the ground? I can't remember, or is it thermal mats that you sleep on with your sleeping bag?
Typically at Native Dog, like obviously in the lodge, we've got beds.
Yeah.
Typically at Native Dog Flat, we have little low stretchers,
That's right.
which are just like thin layer of nylon, so that can be really good in hot weather, but we supply a foam mat for insulation on top of them, and then the Thermarest brand self-inflating mat for over top of that. But that's typically in bigger tents. When we change locations, and we might go to a more of a
fly camp,
like a dome sort of tent.
Yeah.
I just use the foam mat with the Thermarest without the structure there.
Perfect. And helmets, Jade?
Yep, we've got helmets for everyone if they require them. People can feel free to bring their own, but we're just like every horse place. We've got certain requirements there through Horse Safety Australia, which is the body for us, and so helmets can't be more than 5 years from date of manufacture.
Okay.
So that's not when you purchased it, but the date of the actual manufacture. So if they're over those 5 years, we just can't even look at it any further. You can't use that helmet on our road. And then there's certain standards that the helmet has to be up to. So if it's got the kite mark symbol is the easy one. That's an Australian New Zealand sort of standard. There is some other, I think it's ATSM, something or other.
Yeah.
I've got a list of helmets that are approved by the peak body there. So if they're all good, then people can wear their own.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that's good. Just out of interest for you, I'm wondering too, I don't, but Drizabone versus a Gore-Tex rain jacket. I'm a more of a Gore-Tex rain jacket kind of gal, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, if you like, anything can work, but I would go with a Gore-Tex jacket over Drizabone.
Yeah, me too.
It's got some advances in technology. There's a reason people
have
moved that.
Kind of agree.
And we're used to that as well, being out in the elements in other situations. The coat that I take bushwalking in Tasmania, leading trips there, would be the same one that I would take on a riding trip. And a Drizabone would be too heavy for me to bushwalk with.
Stuff,
the lining would get wet and not dry out. It's cotton lining, and they don't have a hood on them as well. So around camp, you could be getting wet down the back of your neck there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Jade, especially 3/4 Gore-Tex jacket, especially one that has a double zip. So when you're riding, you can zip from the bottom up. But yeah, I mean, if you have a Drizabone, and Gore-Tex is expensive, if you can't get it, one before the trip, then a Drizabone is also fine. It's mainly what Jade said at the start of this webinar is your layers. That's really the most important part of, staying warm. Cool, Jade. Thank you.